What I have to say today isn't news. I've talked about Facebook and the danger of misinformation spreading so easily on social media that I could probably give a 1-hour extemporaneous speech on the subject if required. But I want to today talk about the latest Facebook whistleblower. Sophie Zhang was a data analyst for Facebook's site integrity fake engagement team, meaning that it was her job to identify accounts that were run by bots or that were run by humans making accounts for nefarious purposes. She was recently fired, and Facebook offered her $64,000 to sign a non-disparagement clause. Considering what she knew and what she was going to say, they might have double-checked their maximum budget on that because she refused that amount of money and instead chose to pen a 6,600-word essay that she posted to Facebook's internal forum. Someone there promptly leaked that document to BuzzFeed, who published the goriest details for everyone to enjoy, minus some personal details about Zhang herself. Which I should mention, Zhang said in the document that she really didn't want this to blow up because of her own personal safety, but she knew that that was a possibility. So I feel a little bad contributing to this blowing up, but the story is already out there, and I think that it's more important than one person. Because the story is damning. Like, I went into this thinking, what could she possibly say that I didn't already know or assume about Facebook? For instance, I knew that Facebook was responsible for ignoring governments and other groups using nefarious tactics to spread misinformation about political opponents and causes in order to sway public opinion, often in dangerous ways. I knew they profited off of Donald Trump's administration pushing a false narrative. I knew that they profited off of fringe extremists who use Facebook to find and radicalize other people, including men's rights groups and QAnon proponents and other conspiracy theorists. But what I didn't realize, because I'm an American and this is our classic trait, is that the negative effects of Facebook extended far beyond the issues and the countries that I implicitly deem as more important and worthy of my attention. Facebook's help in electing Trump president has been disastrous. Literally 200,000 Americans, as of the making of this video, are dead because of Trump's inaction on COVID-19. But I previously gave no thought to the idea that bad actors also used Facebook to terrorize people in other countries, like Honduras. Zhang was only on the job for 6 months before she discovered that the administration of President Juan Orlando Hernandez was running thousands of fake accounts to seed disinformation on Facebook. In case you don't know, and I only vaguely knew and had to look this up to be sure, Juan Orlando Hernandez, or Joe, as he's known, just barely won his very likely fraudulent election in 2017. He's probably a drug trafficker and money launderer. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that. So it's not shocking that he might engage in less than ethical tactics to secure his second term, which previously was unallowed by the Honduras Supreme Court. The election completely destabilized the country with mass protests and a military response that led to the deaths of several protesters. Zhang caught on to this operation, but said that it took her a full year to stamp them out, despite the fact that Joe's own personal Facebook page administrator was, and I quote, happily running hundreds of these fake assets without any obfuscation whatsoever in a show of extreme chutzpah. His marketing team was bragging about how they were gaming Facebook, but it was still an incredibly hard thing for Zhang to stop because Facebook leadership insisted that their employees' time was better spent on other things. 2 weeks after Zhang wiped out the network, they popped up again, and they were still there on her last day at the company, still negatively affecting politics in Honduras. And then there's Bolivia. In 2019, Zhang noticed an influx of bots supporting the opposition to then-President Evo Morales, but she decided it wasn't worth spending her time on. She had so much on her plate that she was forced to prioritize other things. Soon after, the country fell into turmoil. Morales resigned. Dozens of people died in the resulting protests. And that encapsulates my two main takeaways from Zhang's essay. First of all, she wasn't able to get anywhere fighting anything that didn't have media attention behind it. If Facebook got a whiff that something was going to be politically difficult for Facebook, they would direct resources to it. Otherwise, they would insist that their employees put it on the back burner. And that is eventually what she was fired for, because she wanted to help these other countries, but Facebook said no, because they weren't getting enough publicity to worry about. That's one reason why I try to find and share stories that you might not already have known about via other channels, and why I hope that you do as well. While there is a common fallacy of, you can't care about more than one thing at a time, like how dare you go for a manicure when transgender people are being murdered at rates never before seen in the United States, which is true, by the way. Our personal reserves of energy really aren't limitless. We really can only truly passionately care about so many things at a time. And what we care about is, by and large, dictated by what's affecting us directly and the media we consume and what our friends and family are talking about. It's hard for the average person to know and care about what's happening in Ecuador and Azerbaijan and Bolivia and what's happening in their backyards, to care about all of that and to also do something about it. And that brings me to my second takeaway from this whistleblower account. No one person can do all that, but Zhang was. Facebook, a corporation that's currently worth about $527 billion, refuses to hire enough people to make sure that entire coups aren't being orchestrated on their platform. Their employees have to prioritize which coup to worry about. And how must that feel to go home after work and your spouse says, "Hey, honey, what did you do today?" And on the one hand, you can say, "I took down a politically sophisticated network of more than 1,000 actors working to influence the Indian election," as Zhang did. But on the other hand, you say, "And dozens of people died in Bolivia because I didn't have the resources to help them." Imagine every dark superhero narrative of the past few decades, and this is a common theme. You have so much power, but at the end of the day, you're only one person fighting great systemic abuses. You can't save everyone. And how do you move on without thinking about all those people that you could have saved but didn't? Zhang was living out the trolley problem. She saved some people at the expense of others. No human should have that much responsibility on their shoulders. And no human has to. 1 out of 10 Americans is currently unemployed. We have the workforce for it. But Facebook knows that if nobody is paying attention to what their actions or their inaction is doing to places like Bolivia, then they're going to continue to save their money by not hiring people to keep their site safe. The finances trump everything, and there is no monetary punishment to letting a few dictators use algorithms to secure power in a country that most Americans can't even pick out on a map. And I include me in that. I'm not saying I'm not like other Americans. I can't pick out a place on a map unless I've been there. My freshman year of high school, we had to take geography, and the main thing I remember from that class is that we had to use crayons to color in world maps, and we could only lose points if we colored land masses blue, because blue was for water. I am not joking. That's how bad public schools are in America. I'm pretty sure my geography teacher was using coloring time to go out and have a smoke. And I'm sure I'm not alone. So Americans have a hard time even thinking about things that are happening outside their borders, and especially in places that they don't know or understand or see why it would affect them. So why should they care? Look, all I'm saying here is Facebook is horrible. Zhang points out that they're not evil. I would maybe disagree, but she's right in that the problem isn't some evil mastermind who wants dictators to gain power. It's just that they don't care. I qualified that as evil, but she doesn't. That's fine. So I'm just saying, maybe stop using Facebook so much. I understand you don't want to delete it because how else will you know that the boy you had a crush on in 8th grade is now a MAGA loser shilling some pyramid scheme called Beachbody? That happened to me. I found a good explainer on how you can still reduce the ways you're supporting Facebook without deleting it. And I actually tried to find it to link below, but I'm pretty sure all of these asshole corporations are in it together because when I tried to Google for it, I couldn't find it. But basically, use ad blockers on Facebook. Don't put Facebook on your phone. Don't use Messenger, and give Facebook as little of your data as possible. And support government inquiries into Facebook's practices and why exactly they're prioritizing money over stopping blatant fake accounts from installing dictators in other countries and our own.